Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. There's a great Andy Griffith show in which there's a small fire in a burn barrel at Wally's gas station, and while Gomer runs around panicking, Andy puts it out. Gomer interprets this situation that Andy saved his life and dedicates every moment to serving Andy until it gets way out of hand. In the end, Andy has to concoct a way for Gomer to save him in order to make it even. That episode came to mind because of Gomer's response to being saved. It was wholehearted and complete. Gomer dedicated his whole life to serving Andy in response to Andy serving him. And frankly, that sounds a lot like Psalm 116 as we continue our look at the Hallel Psalms. Psalm 116 is a psalm of praise to God for deliverance. In other words, the psalmist was in a heap of trouble, and God delivered him. And his response to his deliverance is one of praise and, like Gomer, wholehearted commitment. This psalm says, I love the Lord because he has heard my voice and my supplications, because he inclined his ear to me. Therefore I will call on him as long as I live. The snares of death encompassed me. The pangs of Sheol laid hold on me. I suffered distress and anguish. Then I called on the name of the Lord. O Lord, I pray, save my life. Gracious is the Lord and righteous. Our God is merciful. The Lord protects the simple. When I was brought low, he saved me. Return, O my soul, to your rest, for the Lord has dealt bountifully with you. For you have delivered my soul from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling. I walked before the Lord in the land of the living. I kept my faith, even when I said, I am greatly afflicted. I said in my consternation, everyone is a liar. What shall I return to the Lord for all his bounty to me? I will lift up the cup of salvation and call on the name of the Lord. I will pay my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his faithful ones. O Lord, I am your servant. I am your servant, the child of your serving girl. You have loosed my bonds. I will offer to you a thanksgiving sacrifice and call on the name of the Lord. I will pay my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people, in the courts of the house of the Lord, in your midst, O Jerusalem. Praise the Lord. Now, over the past few days, I have mentioned that these psalms were used by the Jews as they celebrated the Passover. That is especially true of this psalm. Certainly, the central thrust of the Passover celebration is for Jews to remember how God had delivered them from slavery in Egypt. So you can see how this psalm of deliverance would apply. But you should pay special attention to verse 13 that talks about lifting the cup of salvation. During their Passover celebration, they lifted 4 cups. And when they lifted the cup that reminded them of the Exodus, they called it the cup of salvation and used this psalm. Many scholars believe that at the Last Supper it was this cup that Jesus lifted among the disciples and said, "This is my blood given for you." It is our cup of salvation, and in fact we are encouraged to use this psalm on Maundy Thursday. Finally, there's one more quick thing about this psalm. You may have often heard it said, God helps those who help themselves. First, let me assure you that isn't in the Bible. Rather, this psalm seems to have exactly the opposite message. God helps those who cannot help themselves. That's a message we need to hear and trust. That's a message that leads to praise. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.